What's up, everybody? Ethan Shapiro, founder of Create Change Realty, here for another listing review video. Here, the first one of 2026. The property is 20 South Boulder Circle, Unit 2314. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath condo in the Seasons here in Boulder, Colorado. Lowest HOA fee in the entire city, I believe, for condos, at least at that price point. Incredible deal, and more challenging than one might expect in this market for such a great condo. Price to sell, pretty solid upgrades given the circumstances for the unit. It actually ended up falling out of contract twice, which is the first time for any of my many listings, probably more than 15 or 20 listings, that have ever actually fallen out of contract more than once. And yeah, it was an interesting experience. Initial thoughts probably, or I guess concluding thoughts in this point is, at a certain point, you can't really control for what people are going to do. You know, if someone writes you an offer, we kind of communicate the value of the property to our best ability. At a certain point, some things are just out of our control. Some of the objections we were getting were involving stuff around the HOA infrastructure, so not the actual unit itself, but the way the building was built. And there's nothing we can do about that. So we ended up finding a buyer who really liked the unit. We didn't end up having to give too many concessions, which is great in this market. Piece of advice would be, hold the results loosely as you go along. You know, you can stack the deck, price really well, get the property into the best condition it can possibly be in, and then location, amenities, HOA stuff can still get in your way. So you need to keep fighting through these objections the entire time and just find that right buyer. So that would be my word of wisdom or pieces of advice. No particular lessons learned necessarily on this one. You just gotta keep pushing forward. And even if you fall out of contract twice, I mean, we fell out of contract, then we had another buyer like 3 days later, then we fell out of contract with that buyer, and then we had another buyer maybe 4 or 5 days later. So you gotta just, if it's a great property, it will sell. It doesn't matter how many terminations there are. And you can just communicate openly to the next buyer and say, hey, here were the issues that the last buyer had said. You know, some things, we had like a couple sink leaks, like we could fix those, but the property is what it is. So make sure you guys are serious if you want to move forward. And that was the review from this listing. It was a great time, a really good time working with the clients. I think it went pretty well. The results ended up pretty similar to what it would have been if we had had that first buyer. So good things, and wishing everybody a happy 2026. Alrighty.